Hi everyone. I want to quickly cover subnetting. Some they say this is one of the difficult um, section in communication networks, but I want to make it very easy for everyone so that people don't get scared when they want to write things like CCNA. So I believe this video will give you more knowledge, and it's going to make it easier for you to understand subnetting. So before I go into details of subnetting, I want to first explain the two types of IP addresses that we have. We have IPv4 and IPv6. Normally we use these IP addresses to assign them to our mobile devices, our computers. In smart homes, you'll find that the lights, fridge, microwave, they all have IP addresses. So we normally use IP addresses to identify devices in the network. So with IPv4, this is the IP address vision type that we have been using since the beginning of internet. It's a 32-bit IP address with 4 octants. I will explain into details what do they mean about this. Then we have IPv6, which is the 1 to 8-bit IP address. So the reason why nowadays they are developing, or our devices that are using IPv6, is because there are a lot of devices that are joining the network. So in order to ensure that we have IP addresses for all the devices that are joining the network, so IPv4 is becoming scarce. So that's the reason why they are developing IPv6. Here's an example of IPv4 IP address: 100.10.20.5. It's represented using decimal. So it means only numbers which are used to represent IPv4. I indicated that IPv4 it's a 4 octant IP address. So this is the octant I'm referring to. This is 1 octant. This is 1 octant. This is 1 octant. Then this is 1 octant. So they become 4 octant in all. So an example of IPv6, it's a hexadecimal IP address. That simply means that it's a combination of numbers and letters to represent this IP address. So I'm not going to go into details about IPv6. Another video in future is going to be created where I'll explain about IPv6 and the subnetting of it. But for this video, I want to only cover IPv4. So in IPv4, we have different classes that we use, or there are different classes that IPv4 provides. We have 5 classes. It's from class A, B, C, D, and E. These are the IP addresses ranges within each class. In class A, we have 1.0.0.1 to 120.126.255.255.254. These are the IP address ranges that we can assign to our end devices. In all, we have 16 million hosts on each of 127 networks, which are supported by class A. So if you have a larger company, you can use class A. So this but I'm going to cover it as I go down. So each and every class also has its own subnet, but I will explain to details as we go down. Class B, the IP address range starts from 128.1.0.1 until 191.255.255.254. It supports 65,000 hosts on each of 16,000 networks. Class C start from 192.0.1.1 to 223.225.254.254. So in this, we only get 254 hosts on each of 2 million networks. I will explain where the networks are coming from when I explain about the subnet mask. Class D, it's from 224.0.0.0 until 239.255.255.255. This one, we don't assign it to end devices. It's reserved for multicast groups. Class E, we have, or it starts from 240.0.0.0 to 254.255.255.254. This one is normally reserved for experiment and research development. When people want to test their research, they normally use IP addresses from this range. So after covering this, it's very important that you remember the class or the IP addresses ranges, so that when you are given an IP address, when you do subnetting, you know that this IP address is from which class, so that you know which subnet mask to use. That is very, very important that you keep in mind. So as I was explaining, as I was beginning with the video, I informed you that IPv4 is a 4-octet IP address, since it's a 32-bit IP address. So I have represented the 32 bits into binaries. So I want to show you a very nice method that you can use in future when you do subnetting. It will give you answers as you continue. So I've taken 1 octant here. So after taking this 1 octant, I have given all these bits the position of the bits. This is what I have done here. So when we start counting in subnetting, we start from this side going this side. So what I have done here, I have given each and every bit its position in this 1 octant. So this is what I have done here. So it's from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In total, these are 8 bits. That's what I have done. Thereafter, I did a multiple of 2. So it's 2 to the power of 0, 2 to the power of 1, 2 to the power of 2, 2 to the power of 3, 2 to the power of 4, 2 to the power of 5, 2 to the power of 6, 2 to the power of 7. Then I get answers. So this is what I have done. So this gives me the position of the bit, and it gives me the decimal number of that bit. So this we are going to use a lot as we continue. So I recommend that when you want to do subnetting, you remember these numbers, as they are going to assist you a lot, and they are going to make your life very, very easy. So when we subnet, there are 2 ways we can subnet. We can subnet based on the number of networks, or we can subnet based on the number of hosts, depending on the network environment, or depending on the challenge that we might have been given, or depending on the question that we might have been given to answer. So there are 3 steps that I follow, or that you can follow when you solve subnetting. What is the first thing that you need to do is to determine the number of networks. So this example that I'm going to cover now is when we subnet based on the number of networks. Then I'm going to give you an example later where we're going to subnet based on the number of hosts. We're going to cover class A, class B, and class C only, because that's where we are allowed to do the subnetting. Class D and class E, I've indicated class D is reserved for multicast. Class E is for future purposes, or we can use it for research development or for experimentations. So the examples, they are going to cover class A, class B, and class C. So when you subnet based on the number of networks, following these steps, what I do first is to determine the number of networks, then convert the number into binary. So it's very important that you go and refresh your binary conversions so that it becomes easier for you to do subnetting. Thereafter, we reserve the number of bits needed to convert, or sorry, to create the number of networks in the subnet mask. Then we find the increment or the block size. Thereafter, we use the increment to find the network ranges, where we're going to use a table to do that. So I've also wrote this little bit paragraphs. It tried to explain the difference when we try to subnet based on the number of networks and when we subnet based on the number of hosts. So it's very important. So I'm going to just to read it as it is so that you get what I want to achieve with this paragraph. So I've written that when you subnet based on the number of networks, you turn the number of bits needed to create the number of networks into ones. So we going to convert the number of bits needed to create that specific network. We convert, or we turn them into ones. From the subnet mask, we go to this direction. When you subnet based on the number of hosts, you turn the number of bits needed to create the host in zeros. We are going this direction. So you will see where this applies as we continue. So we are going to start with class C, our subnet, and we have indicated that we are going to start with the number of networks. So this class C, this is an IP address of class C. This is the default subnet mask of class C. It's given. So this part where you see 255.255.255.255, this represents the network part. This represents the host part. That's why you'll see that in class C, we have less network hosts, or the IP addresses that we can assign to the end devices, but we have number of networks. This is where it comes in, or this is the reason. It's because the larger part of the subnet mask, it covers the network part. That is the reason. So in this case, we have been given 5 networks that we need to subnet. So 5 networks are needed from this IP address. So the first thing that we need to do is to determine the number of networks we have been given. It's 5 networks. Then convert the number into binary. So in order to convert that number into binary, I have taken that number that I've showed you up here. This one. That gives us the position of the bit and also the decimal number of that bit in 1 octet. So this is where this comes in. So this is the number. It's default. I've just written the number. So to get 5, we need to know which numbers are we going to use. We can use 4 and 1. This is addition. We just add. It's just simple addition. So the number which we are not going to add, we write 0. However, this is just to make sure that we know the number of bits that we need to create 5 networks. So in this case, in order for us to get 5 networks, we need 3 bits. The reason why we need 3 bits is because when we start counting, it's from here to here. So we are going to pass through 2. So that's why we add the 0. So the number of bits becomes 3 to create 5 networks. Thereafter, we take the number of bits that we have been given, or the ones that we got after determining the number of networks. Then we converted the number into binary. Thereafter, in order for us to get the increment, we go to our subnet mask. This is the default subnet mask in decimal. This is the default subnet mask in binary format. So we're going to replace the 3 bits from our default subnet mask. We are not going to replace anything here because this is already full, and it also represents the network part. So we're going to go to the host part and replace the 3 bits in order to get the increment. So I have indicated that when we subnet based on the number of networks, we turn the number of bits that are needed to create that specific networks into ones. So that's what we are going to do. Then we go this direction. So we go to our subnet mask. We replace how many bits? It's 3 for this case because it's only 5 networks. So it's 1, 2, 3. We turn them into ones. So that's what we have done here. Then the remaining, we leave them as they are. We don't change them to anything. So they are going to remain as zeros. So in order to get the increment, we look for the lowest number or for the lowest bit that have been turned into 1. So we count. Based on this, when we count, it's 1, 2, 3. This is the number of bits that we have turned into ones. So it's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Then our increment becomes the lowest, which is 32. That's why here I have written that the block size or the increment is 32. Thereafter, before we go to the next step where we are going, you will forgive me here, it was supposed to be 3, number 3. It's just the counting that it's 1, 2, 3. Before we go to step 3, what we need to do here is to get the new subnet mask. There are 2 ways you can write a subnet mask. It's either we write it in a decimal format or we can write it in short notation. It's very, very important that you can see these are 2 different things. It's very important. You cannot use the short notation with the decimal format of the default subnet mask or of the subnet mask. It's very important. So you cannot write 255.255.255.0/27. It's not going to work. It doesn't work that way. The short notation goes with the IP address or this method. So you don't write this and then put /27 here. It's not going to work. So in order to find the last number, because that's where we changed, what do? We add this. So what have we added to get 224? It's 128 plus 64 plus 32. It gives us 224. Then we take 224, we replace the 0, then this becomes the new subnet mask. Or you can write in a short notation. This is the IP address that we have been given here. So what we have done to represent this, we added all the binary numbers that have been turned into ones. So it's 1, 2, 3. We know this is 8. So plus 8 plus 8, it becomes 24, 25, 26, 27. Then it becomes the short notation. So this represent this. That's very, very important that you keep in mind. Because sometimes when you write exams, CCNA, or you write exam in your school, they might ask you to write a subnet mask or the new subnet mask. So it's very important that you know how to write the subnet mask. Thereafter, we go to step 3. I've indicated that here it was my mistake when I was writing. It was supposed to be number 3. So after that, using our increment, we need to write the network ranges. So in order to write it perfectly, I normally use a table. So this is a table with 4 columns. It's network range, the first IP address, the last IP address, and the broadcast IP address. So in order to get the network ranges, what we do, from this IP address, we just took the last part of it. You can write the entire IP address, it's up to you, but other lecturers or examiners, they only require that you write the last part because that's where the changes are going to occur. This is normally only for class C, but for class B and class A, I'll show you as we continue what you need to do. So this one is by default. So the first one is by default. So thereafter, what we're going to do is to add our increment. Our increment was 32. So we are going to say 0 plus 32, it gives us 32. That's how you go to the next network range. You add the default number or the number which you have been given here, then you add it with your increment. Then the answer, you take it to the next network range. Thereafter, to go to the third network range, you add 32 plus 32, it gives you this answer. 64 plus 32, it takes you here. 64 plus 32, sorry, 96 plus 32, it will take you here. 128 plus 32, it will take you here. You add again, you add. When you reach 256, you stop. Mainly because to represent one octet in the subnet mask, you only need you only need 255. So when you reach 256, you stop. You are no longer going to continue. So thereafter, you go and write the first IP address. In order to get the first IP address, what do? We add 1 from the network range. So we just add 1. So it's 1. We add, it's 1 plus 0. It will give us that. 1 plus 32 gives us that. We add 1. We add 1. Then we're going to get the first IP address of each network range. Thereafter, we write the broadcast so that we can come and write the last IP address. We start with the broadcast. So in order to get the broadcast of each network range, we subtract 1 from the next network range. So in order to get the broadcast of this network, we subtract 1 here. So it's 32 minus 1, we get 31. We subtract 1, we get 33. We subtract 1, we get 95. We subtract 1, we get this. We subtract 1, we get this. We subtract 1 until the end. Thereafter, to get the last IP address, we subtract 1 from the broadcast. So it's very important that before we go to the last IP address, we complete the broadcast column so that whatever we write here, it's correct. So how do we do that? We come here. We subtract 1, we get 30. We subtract 1, we get 62. Subtract 1, we subtract 1. So after doing the entire column, you will see that there is no number which is appearing twice in all of these rows or column. So this, it means that when you go and assign these IP addresses to your end devices, you won't have an error message that says IP address conflict, because all the IP addresses are well written. So the reason why we have a network range and the broadcast is because we don't want to assign this to the end devices in our network. So it's very, very important that you also keep that in mind. So in order to verify that if what you have done is correct, there is a formula that you can use. It's 2 to the power n is going to give you the number of subnets when you want to confirm the number of subnets that you have done. Or there is another method that you can also use for host. It's 2 to the power n. It's going to give you the number of hosts. So this is what's going to happen. It's 2 to the power n minus 2. It gives you the number of hosts. So we want to verify if this is correct. So what are we going to do? It's 2 to the power 3. The 3 is the number of bits that have been turned into ones. It gives us 8 subnets. So let's count. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is 8 subnets. It means what we have done here is correct. Then we want to verify if this is correct. So what do? We go to this. It's 2 to the power n minus 2. So we replace the n with 5. The 5 is the number of bits that that have remained as zeros. That's where we get the 5. So it's 2 to the power 5 minus 2. The 2, this 2 minus 2 is this one. This represents the network range and the broadcast. That's where the 2 is coming from. So it's 2 to the power 5 minus 2. It gives us 30. So we want to confirm. It's from 1 to 30. It means it's correct. Between 33 and 62, it means the numbers here are also 30. We use this to confirm. We don't use it to calculate anything. We use this formula, these formulas, to confirm if what we have done here is correct. That is very, very important. That was class C. So as we go forward, I'm going to be a little bit quicker because now I have laid the background. Now we go to class B. This is an address of class B. This is the default subnet mask of class B. In class B, we have 2 octants that represent the network part, and we have 2 octants that represent the host part. So it means when we do IP addresses, we'll start from here, then go this side. That is very, very important. So in this case for class B, they indicated that we need to get 100 networks. We come to this, we add the numbers that can help us to get 100. So it's 64, 32, and 4. So this will give us 100. So how many bits, as I've indicated, that we only do this in order to find out how many bits are required to get 100 networks. In total, they become 7. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This, it makes or it gives us 100 networks. Thereafter, we go to our subnet mask, then we replace the number of bits. As I've indicated that when we assign IP addresses in class B, we start from here. We're going to start from here. This is because this represents the host part. The 2 zeros, they represent the host part. So we are going to start here. We don't start here going this side. We start here going this side. So we have replaced our 7 bits. So the ones which I have been turned into ones, then the others are going to remain as zeros, these ones. What is our increment? The lowest bit that have been turned into 1, we just come and count. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 2 becomes the increment. That's why 2, it has been written that here, that 2 is the increment or the block size. Thereafter, after getting the increment, before we move to the network range, first IP address, last IP address, and the broadcast, let's first get the new subnet mask of this network. This, or we represent it in this way. As I've indicated previously, there are 2 ways. We add what have been turned into ones. So in this case, if we add all this, if we add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we add all of these numbers, they give us 2, 5, 4, then dot 0. This is a correct subnet mask of this new network. Or if you want to write it in short notation, it's 8 bits plus 8 bits, which becomes 16. Then it becomes, then we add the remaining 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Then we write it in short notation. Then we go to the network range. We are going to write, this is the first network range. It was given by default. This is the second network range. This is the third. You can add until you reach the number that were given for 100 networks. So it's very important that you remember this. From our default subnet mask, we start from here. This is where we're going to start to put IP addresses. We don't start here as in class C. So that's why you'll see that our increment, instead of we put it here, no, we put it in the third octet. That's where we are supposed to change. So this is the first network range. We write the second network range. We put 2, we put 4. So it's going to be 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 until you reach here. So I've tried to reduce the number because of time. So because if I write everything, the video is going to be too long. So I've tried to reduce that. So thereafter, we write the first IP address. To write our first IP addresses, we add here for our IP addresses. So the first IP address in this network range is going to be 150.5.0.1. On the second one, it's 150.5.2.1 as you continue like that. Thereafter, before we write the last IP address, we're going to write the broadcast. So how do we write the broadcast? We come here. We replace or we subtract 1 from the network range. So we're going to subtract where we have changed. This is, we have changed on the third octet. So to get the first broadcast of this network, what do? We subtract 1. Then it becomes this. Then the last one becomes 255. It's very important that you remember this. Here we subtract 1, it becomes 3. Then the last one becomes 255. Then this is your broadcast for this network. For the broadcast of this network, as I've indicated that on this row, we're going to write 150.5.6.0. So we just subtract 1 from 6. Then it becomes 5. Then it becomes 255. Then after that, we go and get the last IP address. We subtract 1 from here on the last octet. We subtract 1, then it becomes 254, 254, 254, because we are subtracting here. So it's very important that you remember this trick. It's very, very important that for class B, you remember we start here on the third octet. When we write the network ranges, when we write the first IP address, we write them on the last octet. When we do for the broadcast, we subtract here on the third one, then we write 255. For the last IP address, we subtract on the last octet. You write or you do this until you reach 100 networks, because they indicated that we must get 100 networks. We are done with that example. Let's go to another example. This is another example for class B. They said we must get 8 networks. How many bits are required to get 8 networks? From this number, we know it's going to be 4, because 8 is already on this. So we know we're going to put 1 here, then the remaining becomes zeros. So we know we need 4 bits to create 8 networks. Then we go to our third octet, then we replace those 4 bits. This is what we have done. The remaining we put, or we don't change them, they remain as zeros. We count here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. We are counting in order for us to get the increment. So 16 becomes the increment for this network. We write the subnet mask, we add all the numbers. If it's short notation, it becomes 20. If we're going to write in the decimal format, we just add all of them, these numbers. The answer becomes 240. We write it here. Then we write the subnet, or we write the network ranges. So this is the last step. That's what I want to show you in this class B. It was given. This was given. Then we add on the third octet. We add 16 because 16 now is our increment. We add until you reach 256. Then you stop. So these are the first IP addresses. I indicated previously on the previous example that we add on the fourth octet. We add 1. This becomes the first IP addresses. To get the broadcast, we subtract 1 here on the third octet. Then we write 2, 255. Thereafter, we subtract 1 from the 255 to get the last IP address of this network. So that's what I have done here. It's the same procedure that I have done in the previous examples. You convert the number into bits or into binaries. You replace on your subnet mask. You get the increment. You write the network ranges. That is the same procedure. The difference with class C, we're changing on the last octant, while here we change on the third octant. That is very, very important that you remember that. Now we're going to quickly go to class A. So this is class A IP address. This is a default subnet mask of class A. So you can see in class A, we have a lot of spaces where you can put the IP addresses. We have 3 octants that we can use for the IP addresses, while this represents the network part. So in this case, in class A, the thing we must get for 1,000 networks. So in order to get 1,000 networks, we know with 128 we cannot get the 1,000 networks. So we need to add. We just times by 2, we get 256. We times again, we get 512. So this, with this one, we can get 1,000 networks. The first thing that we need to do, convert into binary to get the number of bits which are required. We do that. Then the number of bits required to get 1,000 networks becomes 10. We take the 10, we replace it on the host part. This is our host part. So we are going to start here on the second octant. Then we replace the 8 bits. We go to the third octet. We replace the remaining 2. Then our increment becomes 64. So we have, so this, the counting does not change. So it's from 128 to 1. Thereafter, it's 128 again to 1. So it's 8 bits here. So that's why the increment becomes 64. So it's 128 until you reach 1, then you stop, then you start again. It's 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. So that's how 64 becomes the increment. It's the lowest in this third octant. Thereafter, we get the subnet mask. How do you get the subnet mask? You add the numbers that have been changed into ones. There's a small mistake here. This was supposed to be already full. Then this 192 must come here. You can fix that. I'm sorry about that. So this 192 is supposed to come to the third octant. Then this is already full. So that's how you write the new subnet mask of this class. The increment is 64. In short notation, it's 8 plus 8, which is 16, then plus 2, it becomes 18. Don't remember to correct this. It's supposed to be 255.255.192.0. That is the new subnet mask of this network. So it's very, very important that you remember that. It was supposed to be 255.255.5. You will forgive my writing. It's my first time I use this method of writing. 192.0. That is our new subnet mask. That is very, very important that you remember that. So I'm going to move forward and I'm going to just clear the drawing that I have done. I was just doing it for you so that you can see what was supposed to have been done there. So let's move forward. So there is a trick here that you need to make sure you master. Let me just clear the drawing so that it doesn't give you problems as we continue. Thank you. So there is a trick here in class A. So it's very important that you master this. So our increment was 64. So let's continue. Our increment was 64. So what do? We add here. The reason why we are not adding here, it's because this was already full. That is very, very important that you remember with regards to the new subnet mask that I have given you. It's supposed to be 255.192.0. So that's why we are adding here instead of adding here. That is very, very important that you keep in mind. So I'm going to continue with the IP addresses. This was default. We add 64 here. We add 64. We add 64. Then we come here. We add on the last one. We get 1. We add 1. We add 1. We go to the subnet or go to the broadcast. We subtract 1. We get that. We subtract 1. We get that. We subtract 1. We get that. So from 192, if we add 64, it's going to go to 2. It's going to go to 255. So we stop adding on that. Then we move to this one. So that's why now we have changed. Then we move to this one. That is very, very important that you also keep in mind. Thereafter, we do the same procedure. This is going to remain as it is. We are no longer going to change it, but we change here because this was already full on the subnet mask. So we don't assign new IP addresses on it. It's going to only become the network range. Then we assign IP addresses on the third one. Becomes this, becomes this, becomes this. We're just adding 64. We write the IP addresses, we change on the last one, it becomes this, becomes this, becomes this, it becomes this. To get the broadcast, we subtract 1 from here, it becomes this, it becomes this, it becomes this. So that is the procedure that we have followed. So the next one here, it was going to be 255. So subtract 1 from it, then it becomes this. So that is the procedure that we have followed. Thereafter, completing that, we go to this one. We add 1 here, then it becomes this. So you do the same procedure until you have 1000 networks. So you can do this on your own. If you have problems, I'm going to provide my email address at the end that I can help you to get the correct answers for this. This is just to keep you busy and make sure that what you have done is correct, or you understand what you have done. So now I'm going to show you how you subnet based on the number of hosts. I have indicated it's the same procedure. You convert the number, you determine the number of hosts, convert into binary. You reserve the number of bits needed on your subnet mask. You change them into zeros going this direction. You're doing this to get the increment. Thereafter, we use the increment to find the network ranges. So I'm going to do class C only so that the video doesn't become too long. So this is the same IP address that I've used up there, if I'm not mistaken. This is the default subnet mask. It's given. So they said we must create for 30 hosts. So to get 30 hosts, how many bits are required? It's 5 bits. You can do the conversion that I've showed you up there. So thereafter, because here we are changing the number of bits required, we change them into zeros. So this is what we have done. So we come here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then the remaining, we leave them as ones. Then we look for the increment. The increment in this case becomes 32 is the lowest bit. We just count it's 1, 2, 3. When you go to that number there, you will see that 32 is the third number. Then you create your network ranges by adding 32 to the default network range. In this case, it was 0. We just add. When you reach 255, you stop. Here also there is a small mistake. It's supposed to be 25. Also, it's correct. I thought I made a mistake. It's correct. Then we add 1 to get the first IP address. We add 1 from the network range. These are the answers. Then to get the broadcast, we subtract 1 from this. So it's 32 minus 1. We'll get the answers. We get the answer of this. We get the answer of this. It's the same procedure that I was showing you up there. The difference is only here of changing the number of bits into zeros if it's host. That's where the difference is. To get the last IP address is the same procedure. We subtract 1 from here. Then we get the answers. So thereafter, I want to show you a method also called variable length subnet mask. This is normally used if you have different network sites, or in those different network rooms, you have lesser users. So you don't want to waste IP addresses. So I've given you this example. We have 60 hosts, we have 30 hosts, and we have 14 hosts. So we're going to do the subnetting based on the number of hosts, but the difference of going to the next network range is going to be different. Here we're adding the default one, which is, it was 32. So now I want to show you with VLSM where the difference comes in. So with VLSM, when you subnet based on the number of hosts, we start from the biggest, then we go to the lowest. However, the steps are the same. What is the first step? Determine the number of hosts, convert into bits. 60, when you convert it into bits, it's going to give you 6 bits. It's the same procedure that we used to do that. Then after, we go and replace this number of bits of ours. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. From the block size, we change them into zeros, going this direction. So that's what we have done. We change the number of bits required going this direction. So that's what we have done here. Then we get the increment. The increment is 64. What is the new subnet mask? This becomes the new subnet mask. It's 8 plus 8 plus 8, which becomes 24. 24 plus 2, it becomes 26. Or we add 128 plus 64, and then we change the last part. So I'm going to get the increment of each network site here before we write the table. We're going to get everything before we go to the table so that it makes sense when we go to the table. The second one is 30. To get 30, we need 5 bits. So this example I've already shown you up there. It's 5 bits. We replace them into zeros. We get the increment. We write the new subnet mask, whether in short notation or in decimal format. Thereafter, we go for 14 networks. We do the same procedure. We convert it. We get 4 bits. We come and replace the 4 bits. Our increment becomes 16 because this is the lowest bit. We write in short notation our new subnet mask, or we write in the decimal format. So now we go to write the network ranges. The difference previously, when you go to the next network range, we're going to add 64, 64 until we reach 256. So it's different. For us to move from the first network range, we're going to add 64 because 64, it was the first increment for this network. So that's what we have done here. So it's 0 to 64. We get the first IP address, we get the last IP address, we get the broadcast. But the procedure that you need to follow when you do that, in order to get the last IP address, you first write the broadcast. We subtract 1 from here. So that's what I have done. Thereafter, for us to move from here to here, instead of adding 64, we add 32. So 64 plus 32, it becomes 60. It becomes 96. So that's where the difference comes in with variable subnet mask. We want to make sure that the IP addresses which we get here, they only cater for 30 hosts. We don't want to have IP addresses which have not been assigned to end devices. So we add 32 here, we get 64. Then we are going to get the first IP address by adding 1 to 64. It becomes this. To get the last, to get the broadcast, we subtract 1 from here. It becomes 95. Then the last IP address becomes 64. So this should cater for 30 hosts. This will cater, This is going to cater for 60 hosts. Thereafter, we'll go for the last one. So on the last one, our increment was, what was our increment? It was 16. So we add 16 on 96, then it becomes 1, 2. So it becomes 1, 1, 2. So what do we do? To get the broadcast, we subtract 1. Then it's going to be 111. To get the last IP address, we subtract 1 here. It's going to become 110. We add 1 here. It becomes 97. So this is going to cater for 14 hosts. So I believe this video is going to make subnetting easier for you. I've covered most of the important stuff that they are going to ask you when you write exam. Thank you very much. There are more videos which I'm going to add as we continue, where I try to cover different fields into the network. But I just wanted to cover subnetting so that it becomes easier for you when you continue with your work. Thank you. Goodbye.